Hey guys, welcome back to another video of my car. Last video I mentioned that I wasn't going to talk about the audio, but we're going to continue talking about the audio, and I'm going to actually just quickly talk about the installation. I didn't mention that in the last couple of videos. After the whole installation that was installed, the sound deadening and the heat stuff, I went for a drive with my flip-flops. And actually is a lot better than what it was before. I am still somewhat feeling heat when I do like heavy boosting here and there, and I think it's because of the bell housing area. There's an opening, and I think the heat from the clutch or something from that area is pushing against the body and in this area, and that's why it's getting a little warm. But it's actually comfortable enough for me to drive in flip-flops, which I don't mind at the moment. But I did make a thread on Facebook on a Supra discussion page, and nobody has mentioned anything about feeling any heat in this direction. Maybe they didn't notice it, or they don't really care to. Maybe they have AC, but I want to know if there's somewhat of a cover for these trans for the bell housing from Granis. Maybe I'll reach out to him personally to see if there's some kind of cover for the inspection area to maybe reduce that heat coming from there from that area. So other than that, there is significant drop in the temperature on the driver's side and also the passenger side. The passenger side, I mean, when I put my hand in that area, I don't feel anything at all. It's just on this, mostly on this side. That tells me it's because of the inspection plate on the bell housing, and that's where that heat's coming from. That's my guess. I'm assuming I might be right. Number two, the audio. I want to talk to you guys about the audio, even though we finished off on the last video. I'm actually going to go ahead and take this apart on both passenger and driver side. I'm actually replacing these speakers. Did some more research. The speakers, the ones with built-in tweeters, they're actually great for sound-wise, but they're not, when I say sound, it's like music-wise, to be able to hear the clarity, the quality, but there is no bass. So I looked it up, found out, thanks to Mike, I cannot pronounce his last name. I've been talking to him on Facebook. He said, component speakers. There's also a thing called component speakers, which I wasn't aware of. Again, audio is completely new to me. So this speaker right here, let me take this out. It's got a built-in tweeter in it. So obviously there is not going to be any bass or any sorts of coming out of here. So what I ordered was I ordered a component JBL speakers, 6.5, to replace this. And then I actually did order from Auto Extrude the pillar. So on here, there's this, don't mind this opening right now. This is where the tweeter is going to go. There's a thing the Auto Extrude made, and it's a group buy, and I ended up buying it. And it's like $150, I believe it is. It's like that. So this is where I'll get majority of like the good music, but the bass will come from the components speaker. So I'm going to be redoing this. And yes, I did waste a lot of money installing those speakers, but I found out with Amazon I can return it by next week. So that's the goal. And these are the speakers that I'll be installing. So stay tuned. All right, so here's an update. I was originally going to take this out and use double-sided tape on these tweeter pods that I got from Auto Extrude, but then I realized I could just install this and drill a hole through it and run the wire through it and then use double-sided tape. The one thing I do not like about this is I don't know if this is meant to have small plugs to mount onto the door, but it seems like, I don't know what's going on here. It didn't come with it. I don't know if that's something that this is how it was designed. Because when I was looking at the instructions in the box, there's no instructions of what to do exactly. At this point, you're guessing and installing your own way, I guess, in a custom way. So this is what I'm doing. I drilled a hole. I was originally going to install it to the door, but then I realized I could just do it on here, use a double-sided tape, just make a hole, run the wire through it, and then obviously I'm going to have the box over here. I kind of tested out yesterday. I have a lot of space in this part of the door with the cover on it. The trim, is it trim? The door's trim. So I'm going to mount the cover over here. There's enough wire to run over here to the box, the crossover box, which is this box right here. So obviously this is going to be in, so negative and positive from the amp, and then obviously the woofer is going to be basically a negative and positive, which is this piece right here, which I have mounted with 3 screws. It's out of the it's out of the the circle drill holes already, and I think it's because the other speaker is bigger than this one. So just so you guys know the difference. So, and then the tweeter is gonna go with a TW, and I'm just gonna have it mounted like pretty much right about there, I believe, and that's where I have enough space for me to go ahead and mount it and have some clearance. And then obviously the wire is already here. I gave myself an extra wire, which I'm glad I did, so I can just go ahead and cut these fittings out. Fittings, is it called fittings? These pieces. And then I'm gonna go ahead and mount it onto the crossover box, and then I'll have new wires run from the box to the speaker, which is probably gonna be like a foot, maybe half a foot from the box to the speakers, which is probably gonna be around from the back and into the speakers, and I'll have the speaker mounted on here. So that's the goal, which I'm looking to do. So horrible instructions. I'm not blaming the company. I wish they came with good instructions, but it's a great piece. And then I don't know if you guys noticed, this one comes with Pioneer. I did order the whole set, which is in the box, the small tweeters that comes with the whole kit in this box. But these are super small. I mean, like, this is my thumb, and like next to my thumb, you can see how big these are compared to these guys. Let's see if I can put it right next to each other. So they're significantly larger from the JBLs from Pioneer. So I'm going to use the Pioneer one just because it obviously came with the whole kit from Auto Extrude, the pillar mount, or is the pillar mount, door mount. So I'm going to be using this instead of the one that came from the JBL. And then JBL obviously provides you with the whole kit, how to mount it on your door. If you have to do some custom work, but I'm not planning on doing that. I'm using the Auto Extrude, so hopefully it'll work out. So I'm going to go ahead and start double taping this, and then get this mounted, and then get the door crossover mounted on there, and then I'll get the speaker mounted and wired in, and I'll give you guys an update. All right, got the crossover box installed. I got the wires installed. Literally took me about 10-15 minutes to do it because I had all the wires already pre-existing over here. So I had to make a small wire from the speaker to the box, which was to the woofer, and then I had the tweeter going to the tweeters part of it on the crossover, and then in from the amp. So negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive. So everything's on here. This is double-sided tape on here. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's moving slightly, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna stay on there because of the double-sided tape. I'm using 3M double-sided tape for those who are wondering. And then for this part, I'm not happy about it because look at this. There's a lot of gapping here because of the space that was the way it's built. And they just gave enough space on here and also here. So, I mean, look at that. The double-sided tape is on there. If it comes off, I'll just put more tape on here. I'm going to try to maybe put something on this section over here just so that it's nicely sealed. But yeah, I mean, it's on there. I just tested the radio. I wish I can play the radio for you guys just so you guys can hear it. But because of the copyright from YouTube, I don't want to get flagged. So it does sound better because obviously with the tweeter, the sounds to the sound in the music is pointed right at the driver, obviously. And obviously it's going to be on the passenger side as well. It sounds great. Now, I do need to possibly take this back to the audio shop to get the amp tuned for this particular speakers for the fronts, and then obviously the tweeter. So that's more to come later, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to mount the door trim on here and make sure that everything clears. If it doesn't, then I'm gonna have to take it apart and maybe move stuff around, but I'm pretty sure it may clear. So stay tuned for that. I'm gonna go ahead and get the door and get that on here, and I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like. All right, so door trim, the door cover is on here. I keep calling it trim for some reason. So there is plenty of clearance there. There's no issues with the crossover box, but here's what the issue that I ran into is going to install this. It came off because this needs to go on here. So I recommend that go ahead and install the door before you double-sided the tweeter pot, and then go ahead and install it, and then it should stay exactly about like that. So make sure you install the door before you even install this tweeter pod, because obviously the door needs to go in first. And just so you guys can see, that's my little hole right there. And then just go ahead double side if you guys want to do a double side. and then it should install. And I think if I were to take that black piece out and just do the tweeter pod, I think it would have been an issue, because obviously this issue that I'm having, the door itself, it's like literally sitting on the tweeter pod's literally sitting on the door. So just keep in mind that if you're planning on installing on that black piece that on the door, or if you're installing on the door itself, there's going to be some clearance issue. You may cannot use double-sided tape until you install the door piece on here, and then install this tweeter piece. All right, so just so you guys give you an idea, I'm going to go ahead, leave this on the way it is right now. I'm going to go ahead and do the other door, and then once I'm done with that, test and make sure everything's working as it should be, and then I will go ahead and double side the tape. And then on here as well, I forgot to mention that there's a button on there for 0 dB and 3 dB. I don't know what the hell that either one of those functionality means. I just went and pressed dB. I'll have to do some more research on it. If you guys know, just leave me a comment just so I have an idea exactly what it is. But I'm gonna go ahead and start putting all the door pieces on, and I'm gonna go ahead and take that door piece out, and then do pretty much the same thing that I did here on that end, and then I should be done. All right, stay tuned. What's up, guys? So ran into a little issue. I got the speakers installed, all the door pieces back on the car, and the tweeter pods basically mounted with some double-sided tape, but I don't know if you guys can tell. There's a little bit of smoke coming. See that? Yeah, I think I burned the amp somehow. I removed the back speakers, the 5.5 speakers, and I accidentally just slightly raised the gain just a little bit, and I guess it could not handle, and smoke came out of the amp. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this amp out, and then I'm gonna take the battery wire out for the amp, just because of the breaker and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the amp. Kind of frustrated because I got everything installed correctly, everything's grounded correctly, and I think the tweeter and the bass, I think both can't handle the amp or something. So I might have to do some more research. But yep, here we go, more problems.